Goodman in Los Angeles. Thanks so much for joining us.
The viewpoints expressed in this program are the opinions of the people expressing them, and not necessarily those of Fresh Air Incorporated, its staff, or its board of directors.
Hi, this is Al McFarland, host of The Conversation with Al McFarland. You're listening to 98.3 FM, KFAI, Minneapolis. I'm Al McFarland. Welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarland. Glad to be here and glad to have you along. Today is Tuesday, February 10th. Happy birthday to Batala and happy birthday to Chrissy and Shelley. Birthdays coming up tomorrow, Batala yesterday, and to Reggie this week, all of my family. Happy birthdays to all of you who are experiencing another trip around the sun. It's a wonderful thing. Well, today I have the pleasure of connecting with one of the guys that I call a hero of the ninth magnitude, a stellar being, a cosmic force, a visionary, a gift to community, to culture, to humanity. And I'm talking about Gary Hines, Gary Dennis Hines, the leader of the magnificent Sounds of Blackness. Gary Hines, good afternoon. Welcome once again to The Conversation with Al McFarland. How you doing, my brother?
I am blessed through it all, my brother. I'm always better when I see you. I still want to be like you when I grow up. And as I was saying off the air, on behalf of Sounds of Blackness, thank you for decades now. I started to say years at first, but decades of brotherhood, friendship, and support and encouragement. We appreciate you more than words can say.
Well, thanks for saying that. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate what you have done in terms of developing, celebrating, promoting, exporting the genius of our people, our history, our culture, telling the truth about who we are so that we might know that, first of all, and so that the world might know it as well. And the truth you've been telling is so powerful. Let me put on the screen the cover of this week's Inside News. You're bringing your classic music for Martin to the Ordway in a couple of weeks, I believe. We'll have you talk about that in a second. But we use this opportunity to sort of refresh, as we often do, the story of the creation of the Sounds of Blackness, starting with your friend Russell Knighton. But take a minute, if you would, and talk about, let's say somebody's tuning in here on KFAI who just isn't up on what Sounds of Blackness is. Let's introduce them. Gary, talk about who and what Sounds of Blackness is.
Sounds of Blackness is a vocal and instrumental ensemble whose primary goal is to glorify God by inspiring, educating, and uplifting people through African music, African American diaspora, throughout the African diaspora. So it's an international phenomena. And that music will be, that internationality, it will be reflected in our Music from Art in Concert. We began at my alma mater, McAllister College, just over 55 years ago last month. And we were begun by our friend and brother, Russell Knighton, a native of Beaumont, Texas. And that was all part of the EEO Expanded Educational Opportunities Program, where the college successfully recruited students of color, primarily African American, to the campus. And one of the offshoots of that were student-initiated organizations, BLAC, the Black Liberation Affairs Committee, which I'm so happy, Al, still exists to this day. Yes, Black Arts Midwest, a shout out to Brother Robert McLean. And they put on theater, spoken word, fashion shows, you name it. And there was this 50-voice choir called McAllister College Black Voices, again started by our friend and brother Russell Knighton. And in January of '71, as he was preparing to graduate, he handed me the reins. It was a great honor, and I wanted to, the way God led was to follow in the tradition of Duke Ellington, which surprises many people when I say that, because many people don't know. I know you know, but the Duke, while we know him for jazz, as we should, but Duke wrote, recorded, and performed spirituals, African music, world beaters, we call it kind of thing, blues, gospel. He did the music of the culture. And so we're in the footsteps of the great Duke Ellington doing the music of the culture, and we needed a name that would reflect that. And so that's why we changed the name from McAllister Black Voices to The Sounds of Blackness.
What a wonderful thing. So describe for our listeners on radio the cover. We've got you on the cover of the February 9th edition of Insight News, two photographs and a story. The photograph on top says, Sounds of Blackness brings music from Martin to the Ordway. And it's a close-up of a couple of singers, but it's a powerful image, a beautiful image.
Yes.
Beneath that is a full-width photograph of people in the moment dancing. That looks like the holy dance to me.
Yes, sir.
Or something like it.
Which is very West African, as you know.
Yeah. So describe these two photographs and what these represent, and in the process, talk about music for Martin and invite people to show up and support.
Absolutely. Those photographs, Brother Al, represent the essence of African musicality and spirit. Spirit, mind, and body are one, and we celebrate through the rhythm of the drum. We give praise. We acknowledge and give homage to the ancestors. We pass that energy on to the present, to our youth, to the struggles that were going on, especially today, through music, because our music has never been about art for art's sake. African-based music has always been about music for life's sake. Every aspect of life: birth, death, marriage, education, politics, music. In fact, in some West African dialects, the word for both music and dance are the same word, or very similar words. So all what you're seeing are manifestations of those expressions. None of the things of today, none of the musical entities, cultural entities of today, whether it's hip hop to bebop, to gospel, to jazz, to blues, to country, to so-called Latin, which is primarily African music. None of those exist, and none of them make sense without, as Brother Carlos Santana says, acknowledging Mother Africa.
Did you watch Super Bowl yesterday?
I did.
What's your critique? What's your critique of your estimation of? I thought the halftime was great with Bad Bunny, and I love the fact that it was a cane cutting scene that he set up as the motif, and that's personal because my father was a cane farmer in Cuba. That's what my family did.
Oh,
was
okay.
cut cane in Cuba when they lived there before they returned to Jamaica, right? And
Oh,
so
okay.
that whole thing of Africans in the cane fields resonated with
Yes,
me right away. And it's no different from being in the cotton fields, but it
that's
shows that
right.
we were connected to the land in ways that, though they may have been harsh, we found joy. But what
Yes.
was your impression of the show?
Uh, Part and parcel to what you expressed, my brother. Hats off to Bad Bunny and all of his colleagues for doing an amazing job. And yes, for having, I think a lot of people may have missed that in terms of the primary setting, and the cane fields and everything, and all of the historical and cultural and political statements that were being made, not only lyrically through the music, but also visually through
Hmm.
the scenes. So hats off to our brother Bad Bunny, and congratulations.
Okay, so talk about you. When I talked to you earlier this morning, you guys were just getting in from Soul Train Awards, right?
Actually,
Tell me,
the Soul Train cruise,
Soul
actually,
Train
yes.
cruise.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that. What was the cruise like? Where'd you go? What'd you do?
Well, we were blessed. This was our third Soul Train cruise, Brother Big Allen, and they rotate artists, so they bring you on every other year.
Hmm.
And our ports of call were St. Thomas and San Juan.
Hmm.
But most of the time, of course, overwhelming was actually on the ship where most all the performances happened.
Hmm.
and the Soul Train cruise, I would encourage all of your listeners, followers, viewers, to make it a part of your life's journey. One, to visit the motherland, especially West Africa, but just the continent in general. And
Mhm.
two, to do the Soul Train cruise, because you'll have, 2,000 primarily of us, on a ship with 15 decks, and wherever you go, it's soul music, soul food, dancing. I mean, every activity kind of thing. And it's just a very, it was in spirit reminiscent, and you and I share the experience of having been at Panafest
Mhm.
in Ghana, Cape
Mhm.
Coast, and Accra. So obviously it wasn't that setting, but just the blackness, the Africanness of it, that atmosphere, that ambiance was reminiscent in a different way, but reminiscent of Cape Coast and Accra and Ghana. So we encourage everyone to Soul Train. They go out twice a year. They
Mhm.
sell out almost a year in advance, so don't wait. And you'll be very glad you did.
And so when I think about being at sea and being on, I haven't been on a cruise on a commercial cruise,
Hmm.
but I was a sailor, Gary, back
Oh,
when I was a
okay.
kid. So I
Yeah.
have a relationship with the ocean by being a man in uniform, a kid in uniform. Actually, I was like
Hmm.
18, 19, and 20. I think I got out of the military before I turned 21. I'd done my 2
Mm.
years of active duty, but I have an appreciation for the power of the ocean and the power of the water,
Yes,
right? That's
sir.
number one. And the power of nature and just the awesomeness of being in all that water and the sun and the light and the weather and the night. Then I think about you being on a boat with 2,000 Black people. And this time you can get on and off where you want to,
This time, right?
as opposed to the Middle Passage.
The Middle Passage, my God.
And
Well,
so, do you think about that while you're on a cruise? Do you think about, we could have been here. We traveled this water before,
right.
genetically,
Hmm.
but it wasn't under this circumstance. And what does it mean
No.
for us to be doing this right now in terms of the passage of time and the movement of the people? What do you think?
Absolutely, the significance and the connection are undeniable. But my dear friend and brother, the son of the late great Don Cornelius, Tony Cornelius, is now in charge, and just such a gracious host. And like his dad, love and support Sounds of Blackness, and insisted on us being there. But in conversations with him, and I was so glad because we got to spend more time talking this time. Exactly what you talked about, and it did not escape his attention or the Soul Train colleagues, the significance of primarily almost entirely Black folks being on the ocean, and like you say, but under entirely different circumstances, because there are three now. There were the African explorers who were here, centuries before Columbus.
Hmm.
Then there was the transatlantic slave trade, as you
Hmm.
mentioned,
Hmm.
and now the Soul Train cruise. So night and day, but just an amazing, life-changing experience.
Mhm. I always think about wouldn't it be wonderful to have a commercial cruise, sufficient interest and subscribership that a commercial liner would cruise from here, retracing the triangle,
Oh
but
my
with
God.
our people as guests, and customers,
Yes.
and coming back to dock at Cape Coast or
Yes.
Accra or was it Cote d'Ivoire, right?
Hmm.
The
Yep.
places like
Yep.
that. Just a dream, but you never know.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
we're
a
doing it by
wonderful.
air, but we probably can do it by ship for the symbolic, meaning of that method of examining history and culture.
And this time not in the bowels of the ship,
That's right. That's right. Maybe,
chained and stacked together. My God. Yeah.
maybe maybe the crew of the ship and maybe the captain of the ship plus the passengers
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
mission to restore and to build towards the future. So let's go to this show coming up at the Ordway date time. Invite people to show up and support and enjoy the healing and the blessing that is offered by Sounds of Blackness.
Thank you, my dear brother. We want to invite each and every one. This is definitely a family affair, in the words of Sly Stone. Music from Martin began at the Ordway Theater, was birthed there in 1988. And
Mhm.
so here we are, fast forward, to 2026. Uh, Music from Martin is a celebration, not only of the legacy of Dr. King, but everything that preceded it and laid the groundwork for it. So we begin, your brother. We begin in Africa. We open up the show in Swahili and Yoruba. Harambe, let us all pull together, Swahili, and Odunde, Happy New Year, but giving thanks for the new year, not in the all lang sense.
Mhm. Right.
So we open up with Africa, Martin's roots, which he acknowledged more than people give credit for. But we travel and lay the roots musically of what was to the background and the culture and the history that gave birth to a Martin, to a Malcolm, to a Medgar, to a Marcus. All those hymns. Okay. But the focus of this one, of course, Martin Luther King. It's a musical journey. And it is something with music for everyone, from the grandparents to the adolescents. And so we encourage families to come out, churches, schools, barber, beauty shop, the community have always been a part of this celebration and commemoration. Music from Martin, and there are still good seats available. At the at the Ordway Theater, downtown St. Paul. And the date is 1 week from this Friday. That's Friday, February 20th, 7:30 p.m. So please go online or give their box office a call and get your tickets now before they're all gone. You don't want to miss Music from Martin with Minnesota's own three-time Grammy Award-winning Sounds of Blackness.
That's Friday, February 20th at an information ordway.org. Gary, walk us through the discography. You guys have done so much. You've been in what? How many years now since Sounds launched?
Well, this is January. This past January is 55 years as Sounds of Blackness.
Amazing. So
Yep.
walk us through the production and the transitions and the discoveries that you've made as you continue to evolve and grow and develop and present again the genius of our culture in music and stagecraft.
Yes, sir. Well, we are guided by ancestor energy and by present day elders energy and wisdom. Uh, W.B. Du Bois, who talked about the gift of Black folk and the soul of Black folk, and my favorite poet laureate, Langston Hughes, who said, "You've taken my blues and gone, but someday somebody's gonna sing about me and put on plays about me. It'll be me, I reckon. You've taken my blues and gone." And so I think Langston Hughes was speaking to me in sounds when he said, but someday. And he said, you mix up my music and symphonies and swing Mikados, but what's about me? But someday somebody's going to stand up and sing about me and write about me and put on plays about me. It'll be me, I reckon. Yep, it'll be me. So I take that. I want that on my tombstone, okay? Because I believe that was Langston speaking to me and through sounds and two sounds. And also, when I mention not only ancestor energy, but elder energy, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our mentor, Professor Mahmoud El Kadi,
Yep.
who was at McAllister
Mhm.
uh, at, in those early days, from the start, number one, and has been a spiritual and cultural and historical mentor for Sounds of Blackness, and for me personally, since those early 70s days. And he told us back then, Brother Al, he said, be more than a band, be a cultural institution. Okay, that passes on to generation. And so currently now, Sounds of Blackness, the current membership, other than yours truly being an original, are really second generation sound. Many of them are actually offspring of original members. So
For
our
example,
feast,
for
yes,
example, I lost your sound. Oh, I'm not hearing you right now. Are you hearing me, Gary? Okay, let me see what happened here. Okay. Yeah, I am not hearing you. Jared, you can tell me if I'm
Okay. I'm sorry.
there we go.
Am I
Now we
back
go.
yet?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So second generation sounds of blackness. So the many of the people that you see and everybody will see on stage on February 20th at the Ordway at
Mhm.
7:30 Friday, a week from this Friday, are actually second generation sounds of blackness and offspring of original members. So something for everyone, all age ranges, and
But walk through some of that transition, this intergenerationality. Who were some of the original people whose children are now part of Sounds, and what's that like
well,
for you to be
oh,
uh, coaching mom and dad now, coaching the kids, and those
yes,
kids probably having kids now, young families.
yes.
Yeah,
You're right on all points, and so I can give you a few examples.
yeah.
Um, the great Cynthia Johnson, who people may not know that name, but many, of course, do. But if I say Funky Town, everybody knows that
Everybody does.
record. So
Yep.
she is that lead voice on Funky Town. She is an original Sounds of Blackness member, and now her daughter Nika Constantino is one of our great sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Jamesia Bennett is the daughter of the great Ann Nesby, who's got a flourishing solo career, and I know she would want me to send you love from Ann as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and oh my goodness, we also have Lacey Dreams, who is the daughter of the late Joanne Hollies, who is again original Sounds member. So literally offspring of original members, and so we call this Sounds of Blackness next or second generation.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And so when you look into so I was asking you to start off with giving me a sort of walk through your discography. What were
Mhm.
the first, songs that you did and you got into recording, and sort of how you felt putting out your first record as Sounds of Blackness, and how did that do? And when you got your first big hits, how did that feel? And then sort of walk us through step us through the progression, because in everything there's a central theme, and
Yes.
that theme you said is like the love of God, right? And
Yes.
the elevation of our culture, and the
Yes.
celebration of our humanity, and
Yes.
the acceptance of the mission of creating clarity and light in the world towards the liberation of humankind. That's
Yes,
what I hear
sir.
from you. Am I saying it properly?
You said it much better than I ever have or could, my brother, my eloquent brother. And yes, Sounds of Blackness. Speaking of early days in Mahmoud, he encouraged us to record back in those early 70 days, and we made our first recording called Images of Blackness in 1974 at the old Sound 80 studios that used to be on like 26th and 26th in South Minneapolis.
Yep.
So that was 1974, Images of Blackness, and you were asking discography. That record included everything from Satin Doll to Oh Mary, Don't You Weep. So
Hmm.
again, we let people know that this notion of doing the music of the culture, jazz, blues, gospel, world beat, African, hip hop, it is not new for us. You know that we started that way. People say, "Well, what? How's your repertoire?" That's who we've always been, as I know you know. Our second album was called Images 2, kind of a follow up to that. And we of course included some spirituals and our Odunde, the first recording of Odunde, Yoruba word for Happy New Year. There was blues, there was R&B. We covered Stevie Wonder's "Living for the City," but it was not until 1991 when Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis signed Sounds of Blackness as their first artist on their newly formed label, Perspective Records,
Hmm.
which surprised a lot of people because they were working with Michael and Janet Jackson and Aretha and all that. And I'm sure the parent company, A&M Records, expected them to lure some of those people to their label. But the
Hmm.
first group they signed is this 40-member group called the Sounds of what? The Sounds of Blackness. How are we going to market? How are we going to market that? What are we going to do? Oh, but then Optimistic goes number one, and everybody's chest is sticking out. So, oh, we knew it all along, and not bad people. I don't want to convey that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Well, I actually, in retrospect, I understand their confusion and their concern. But that's how we went from just local distribution with our original recordings to international. With shout out to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and also to a dear brother and friend, the memory of Prince,
Mhm.
who encouraged and supported us. And we were blessed to be on the Batman movie soundtrack with him, the Jack Nicholson, the first Batman.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
brought us in, so he supported us as well and put us out internationally with that. But it was Jam and Lewis that took it to that next level at Perspective Records and Optimistic, and that won us our first Grammy.
Optimistic was a milestone. I mean, people, I've been, I told you this before, in conventions and meetings around the country, and I'll say I'm from Minneapolis, and they say, oh, Sounds of Blackness, Optimistic.
Yes.
And what they're saying is that the music and its message uh, sort of embedded uh,
Mhm.
themselves in their life, in their sensibility, and
Yes,
gave them
yes.
strength and gave them courage and sort of a joy to prosecute every day. And so, as you were developing optimistic as a song and as a concept, tell me about what was going on. What were you thinking? And where did that come from?
Such insightful questions, pun intended, my brother. Just yeah, yeah, great one though. So, the creation of Optimistic, uh, the making of the album that it was on, brother Big Al, and the title was Evolution of Gospel, which is based on one of our Sounds of Blackness music productions. People say, where did Jam and Lewis get it? They came to they were familiar with us. They go back to the '70s with us,
Yeah,
so they knew about Africa to America, our music concert, and Evolution of Gospel. So they said, let's do this Evolution of Gospel. But long story short, we had a full album recorded in oh my goodness, this was like January or so of 1991. And Jam and Lewis, I was blessed to be working as a staff producer at Flight Time at the time. And they called me into their office one night and they said, Doctor, and they've always called me that to this day.
yeah.
They said, we know we've got a great record here, but we feel like we want to do one more that will be universal in its appeal, that will be a classic and stand the test of time. And the word optimistic keeps ruminating kind of down. I'll never forget that. And they had already, worked on the track and had some basic lyric ideas. They brought me in. I did some vocal arrangement and some of the lyrics as well. And we brought the group in the next night. And brother Big Al, that I'll never forget. That was, there are some sessions that are just an experience. It's not just another recording
Mhm.
session, and that certainly fits the definition of the session for Optimistic. It was just magical and mystical, and we knew that there was something extra special here, and that's the history of that. So it was the last song that we recorded for Evolution of Gospel.
I'm imagining as you speak, looking with my eyes closed, Gary, I'm sort of seeing in my mind's eye, you all in a studio sitting around and getting into the music, singing. And I'm imagining that this room felt like something happened, like
Yes.
maybe there were tongues of fire descending on all of you, touching
Yes.
you, enveloping you, and igniting something in you that transformed everything and by its nature transformed the public, the music, the public understanding of what optimism is. Am I on track?
You are, as always, right down the center of the track, my brother. Um, you know, Optimistic, uh, blessed to help us, win that first Grammy and all that. And those are great things, and we treasure them. But more importantly, just alluding to something that you addressed a few moments ago, brother Al. Um, when and it happened again on coming back from the Soul Train trip, away from the cameras, away from the lights and all of that. Sometimes waiting for a flight at an airport or wherever kind of thing, or in a hotel lobby, and some people recognize the group and come up to us, and we had a gentleman tell us, said, you know what, I love you guys. He said, I was contemplating taking my life, and Optimistic came on and saved my life, and I was like, oh my God, we're all crying and embracing him and all. And so like I say, the Grammys and all that are great, but like the beer commercial says, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, when people are telling you that your music helps save or change their life or bring them to God or closer to God or to their relatives or stop them from dropping out of school or encourage them to leave an abusive relationship, whatever it was. And in terms of what you alluded to a minute ago, Brother Al, that inpouring, that you definitely, the Holy Spirit there, and like I use the term frequently, ancestor energy, uh, and the spirit and vibrations of our foreparents and of the current humanity of our people. You used that word earlier. And I'll close the answer by saying this. There was a great country western artist named Chet Atkins, who was a great songwriter. And I saw an interview of his, and I'll never forget, the interviewer asked him how he wrote such great songs. And I subscribe to the answer he gave. He said, there are no songwriters, all music is given. And yeah, so I ain't got a whole lot of sense, but I got enough to know that.
That's right. Okay. Well, it's what a gift. What a gift.
Yeah,
And
yes.
it's a gift to recognize that that's what it is, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
And to
sir.
treat it that way and to work with it. So more about the discography. So
hmm
there's Optimistic, and then sort of what are the next, say, milestones in terms of your recording and your production?
I would say some of these singles, the subsequent singles off of that first Evolution of Gospel album with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, whether it was The Pressure, Part 1 and Part 2, Testify, and then our follow-up album, Africa to America, which featured I Believe, and of course, Africa to America, We Are the Drum.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Black, I always smile when I say the title Black Butterfly, especially now. My dear friend and brother, 50 years, who we just lost, Jelly Bean Johnson.
Mm.
He was also working at Flight Time as a staff producer. We were basically living out there, Big Al. All of us spent more time there than we did at home.
Mm-hmm.
But Jelly Bean, rest his blessed soul, he was adamant about the fact. He said, Gary, man, that black butterfly, man, that black butterfly should have been a single, man. And he would say every time I would see him, it could be months and months, and I run into him, at a concert or club, whatever, and he would say, man, I told him, man, that black butterfly. And so that's just a really fond memory of him. But Black Butterfly, which we'll be performing at the Ordway in a few days now, Friday, February 20th, 7:30 at the Ordway. So Black Butterfly is one of those songs that are featured, that are part of that discography that we're exploring right now.
So then next, keep going.
Oh
Your
yes.
other hits, yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, Fast forward to um, Jam and Lewis in 1997 said, you know what? Okay, doctor, it's time for you guys to do this one kind of on your own. They kind of handed us the reins. Myself and our assistant director, Billy Steele. I know you know the Steeles.
Yeah.
Uh, and Billy and Levi Caesar, who lives out on the right in the Bay Area.
Levi he
And
was with Prince for a long time.
right,
Yeah.
formerly of the New Power Generation.
Yep.
Billy and Levi collaborated on "Hold On, Change Is Coming," which
Mm.
is now a neck and neck classic with Optimistic.
Mm.
So Jam and Lewis gave us the range for that, and "Hold On, Change Is Coming," and then we released more recently a series of singles that were definitely back to our movement consciousness roots. Titles like Black Lives Matter
Mm-hmm.
uh, and Royalty. We got a message from above. You ain't no thug. You're royalty. We're ready to the youth, to say that when people were calling them, thugs and this and that. We
Mm-hmm.
want you to know you're royalty. You're the descendants of kings and queens.
Mm.
And then, of course, my goodness, Juneteenth celebration.
Mm-hmm.
So when Juneteenth was officially made a holiday, of course, we've been celebrating it for 150 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this needs a theme song, and so we recorded Juneteenth celebration. And when reparations came back to the forefront, say, okay, that needs a song, and it's got to come from Sounds of Blackness. So God gave us time for reparations. And our subsequent singles, Hold Up Your Light by our own songwriter and our choreographer, Carrie Harrington, and Be Thankful, featuring Buddy. Little Buddy, who we know, a rapper here, that whose son was tragically killed, Amir Locke, by Minneapolis
Yeah.
police, as he practically slept in his apartment. They were at the wrong address. I mean, it goes
Yeah.
on and on. But
Yeah.
Buddy's response was amidst all the grief and the anger and the outrage. He and Jamesia collaborated on the song "So Thankful" in the video, because he was thankful for the years that he did have with Amir, the 21, if I'm not mistaken, and wanted to express that. So, and then of course, coming up to "We're Unstoppable," which we you released middle of last year, and we recently dedicated and sent to President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle, in light of the abhorrent denigration that they were dealt at the hands of the current fascist in the White House. I can't call him president. There's nothing presidential about him.
That's right.
So the music has always been about, as I know you know, but for all your listeners and viewers, Sounds of Blackness, at the heart of it, always have been about the movement, the message, and the music. With our roots in Africa, and the branches of those trees. That's why our second title of our album was called "Africa to America: The Journey of the Drum."
Gary, as you think about the future, what images pop into your mind? I wonder, how does peace look to you? How does liberation, freedom look to you? Let's say the year is 21, 26. 21, 26, 100 years from now. And let's say that we won. We won.
Okay.
Describe our community, describe the world, if you would. After we have won. What is the world like now?
The world looks like and is both equity and equality, in terms of political power, in terms of economic, socioeconomic power, civically, in every way, geographically, economically, all of those that we are not only predominant as we always are in everything, but throughout the world and in every system, there's equity as well as equality.
And so, having won, our mission was to establish equity and equality throughout the planet.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so then we've achieved that, and we've eliminated the crutches of racism, of sexism,
yes,
of ageism,
yes, sir,
of geographic artificial limitations. We've eliminated an attitude that is exploitative and extractive of natural resources, the minerals and energy resources and the precious metals, but instead replaced it with a system that reflects a measured, balanced approach to being, that we recognize the connectivity between all that exists, the human and the non-human, the sentient and the non-sentient, with all the elements of creation.
yes.
And I'm sure that the soundtrack of that will be something like optimistic, or what will it be? What'll be the soundtrack of freedom? Freedom attained, freedom achieved. So I'm thinking right now, Gary, I'm tripping, which is cool. I'm thinking of John Coltrane. I'm thinking of A Love Supreme, thinking of the four movements: acknowledgement, I think resolution,
Yes.
pursuit, and psalm. So maybe having achieved victory, the soundtrack will be psalmic in nature, like a
Yes.
psalm, like gratitude, like praise. What do you think? I'm thinking.
A title comes to mind, Universal Eternal Harmony.
Ah, there we go. That's it.
Yep. Universal Eternal Harmony. And I'm so glad you mentioned Coltrane. My dad, rest his soul, side of the family, is from Hamlet, North Carolina, which is the
Hmm.
birthplace of John Coltrane.
Mm.
I finally got to go, just to digress momentarily, some years back when my grandma, his dad's mom passed, and I went down for, we called her Mama, grandma.
Mhm.
I went down for Mama's funeral and flew into Charlotte and then drove about an hour and a half to Hamlet in a rental car. And I'll never forget, pulling into the city off the freeway. There's got to be like this 12 or 15 foot bronze bust of John Coltrane, with the saxophone, and it
Wow.
says, "Welcome to Hamlet, North Carolina, birthplace of John Coltrane." So it was just
Hmm.
amazing that you mentioned him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, let me ask you this too. I know that you mentioned, I know you have to leave before, when you got to leave, let me know. I'll keep going, but I'm going to hang out as long as you can. Your
Yes, sir.
travels. Tell me about your travels. Where all have you traveled? And give me some memories from locations which make either the trip or the place or the event memorable to you.
Well, you know what I'm going to say at the top of the list is Sounds of Blackness. After years of singing about the motherland, finally sojourning there with Stevie Wonder for Panafest and connecting with you there
Yeah.
in Cape Coast and across. So that's got to be at the top of the list. Um, but
Did you
also,
sing? Did you sing in the castle in the slave castles, either in Elmina or Cape Coast, or at the
we did
stadium in
not
Accra?
sing, and it's interesting as you say that. We actually tried to. Everybody was so emotionally overwhelmed. And speaking of Ann Nesby, I remember Ann just broke out crying and ran out. I mean, you could feel the heaviness in there. And she, her and a few others, it was so emotionally overwhelming, too much so to try to perform, kind of thing. And I suppose there'd probably be something wrong if our reaction wasn't like that. But you can
Mhm.
definitely feel those souls, and looking at, as I know you remember, the door of no return,
Yep.
and just imagine all that, and he's having them separated 1,000 in a room that probably really only should have accommodated 100,
Mhm.
separating the men and women, and hearing, the men hearing their wives and mothers and daughters cry for help, and vice versa, and not being able to get. So all of that heaviness is still in that room, and I know you experienced that as well.
Mhm.
But we would love to have performed, but we could not get that together. It was just too much to
Mhm.
bear to sing at that time. Now when we go back, and I trust that we do, hopefully we gird our loins enough to be able to do that.
Where have you traveled and performed that you have stories to tell about?
Oh, well, throughout the UK, throughout much of Europe.
So when you
Uh,
go to UK, what's your experience in UK? Who comes to see you? Number one, and how
mhm.
do they leave? What have they learned from the experience of being in your company?
Well, fortunately, both our brothers and sisters, and there's a whole bunch of us, in London and in
Yeah.
the UK, but also our Caucasian brothers and sisters came out. They have a great appreciation. In fact, a story I like to tell that'll help answer your question. When the Motown Review first went there, uh, yeah, I'll never forget. They landed at the airport, and there were like thousands. You probably seen the old black and whites, and they landed and opened the door, and the band was just kind of sauntering off, and the singers went first, and they were expecting, the Temptations fan club. No, the signs that they held up were the James Jamerson Bass Fan Club. Okay, the Benny Benjamin, they were into the music, the
Mm.
instrumental kind of thing, and not that, I mean, they appreciated the vocals, but that surprise,
Mm.
I can see those signs, in my head, in my mind's eye, as Stevie Wonder says, as we speak. them saying, they revere, they appreciate the singers greatly, but revere the musicians. So we experienced that, and then throughout Europe, especially Switzerland, and going to some of the other European countries, and sometimes on an off day or night, going touring the city and going to some of the cathedrals and temples and seeing all the disciples and representations of Jesus picture wise looking like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people are like, wow, why is it, how is this here and not back there? So that I mean, representation of the 12 disciples and of Christ himself, with melanated, and I don't mean like that, I mean heavily melanated, like you and
Mm-hmm.
I. and
Mm-hmm.
and that was just an eye-opener for many of us, and something that I treasure, and that we let people know all the time.
Did you perform in Russia or Soviet Union at all?
We haven't, not Russia yet,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but oh my goodness, France, Portugal, Spain, Italy, UK, Germany. Oh yeah, same thing in Germany. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep. Um, and great, just uh, they revere our music. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, revere, and Japan for that matter. I'll never
Mm-hmm.
forget our first trip there was to an outdoor festival in a relatively small city called BA, but they had this big, field open kind of, and I'll never forget, Al, uh, when our bus was pulling in, to go to the concert. They had this biggest banner I've ever seen in my life, just huge, and it said. Black Music Festival. BA celebrates black music, and then at the bottom, this R&B, gospel, jazz, blues, and it's like, how is it that halfway around the world they get this,
They get
but at
it. Yeah.
home we got to struggle. We struggle with it.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, what is that? Yep.
And the answer is that there's a tendency, an intent, a process of separation, segregation at home.
Yes.
That's how we keep control and division, but the world
Yes.
sees the unitary state. And so it's easy for the Japanese to say, when they're looking at Black music, they look at it in its entirety, the full breadth and depth of a human experience expressed through the lives of Black people, of African people in the West,
Yes.
in this case. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. And do you remember the old Dayton store downtown? And every year
Sure.
they would,
Yeah.
in all their big windows, they would have a Christmas display and different,
Hmm.
different. So in Germany, I think this was Frankfurt, if I'm not mistaken. In downtown, there was a similarly, situated like big department or type of store kind of thing. But in their windows, they had Duke Ellington and Satchmo and Count in one, and then Leadbelly, and
Mm.
blues artists in another, and then
Hmm.
Mahalia. They celebrating black music is like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know halfway around the world once again getting it, no confusion,
Yeah.
but we not so here.
Yeah, and it kind of brings us back to Bad Bunny, I guess, and the thing
Yes,
of what he did and the audacity that he had to be his Puerto Rican self, right, and to not worry about what somebody else thought, because all of the people on the crazy left, the MAGA people, this morning
yes,
and last night were going absolutely berserk,
berserk,
saying that this is not American music and that America had to be meatloaf and apple pie, and so.
my
Uh,
God,
I don't think so. And
right,
he had the
exactly,
audacity to name America, to say Canada, Uruguay, Paraguay,
thank you.
Jamaica,
Yeah.
Nicaragua, Honduras. He named all of these as America, the true
Right.
America, right? And that punches a hole in that balloon that is puffery, called
Yes.
America, our Eurocentric Americanism that's myopic
Yep.
and that is not true. That's not real. So we're
No,
bringing
it's not.
so so this conversation talks about the role that your music and that art and the creativity plays in the movement from where we are, where we have been, to the future we're talking about in which we have won, and how we've
Yes.
created a system and a society that moves with the sense of balance and purpose. It's not patriarchal or matriarchal, but it is comprehensive and inclusive of all of us, however we show up,
Right.
in whatever
Right.
in whatever configuration, and it really elevates the idea of configurability.
Yes.
These are possibilities, and that they all exist, and they're all right. So,
Yes, sir.
what else do I have to ask you? So, Japan. Where else did you go in Asia besides Japan? Is that it? That your main trip?
Did interviews in Thailand and Singapore and um, one other place in Hong Kong
Hong Kong. Okay.
to set up, what was supposed to be to set up, proceed performing there, but
Mhm.
those didn't come to fruition. And the only other one, three times we have been over the years, at least slated to go to South Africa.
Mm.
Going back even to Nelson Mandela days,
Mhm.
and something always came up kind of thing. But we're in touch with them. We have many friends there now. They're very supportive, and I trust that that's going to happen sooner than later.
Mhm. How did the Japanese receive your music? What were the audiences like, and did they get it? I mean, so I'm saying that when I come to a Sounds performance, I know what I'm looking for, and you all always deliver it. And I think you know what I'm looking for, and you
Yeah.
all deliver it. And I'm sure you're delivering the same thing to everybody else. Do other people, are they the same kind of audience that I am? I think they are. I think they are. But tell me, what's your experience?
They absolutely are sold out, standing room only. They're early, sometimes during sound check, and even many of them, at least partially English speaking, but many not. But the music, as Stevie Wonder says, is the universal language, and their appreciation and reverence of it. In fact, I can demonstrate that for you in both Osaka and in Tokyo. There are several schools for Black music, jazz schools, gospel schools, where you literally go, because I've done workshops at them kind of thing. And it's like, my God. And like in the downtown areas of either Osaka or Tokyo, and there's several of them. So the reverence of the music and the culture is just amazing.
Spider-Man online dropped a question shared with our radio listeners. Mr. Hines, was the song that the Sounds were on with Prince called "The Future"? Is that the one that you're on with Prince, or is it different?
No, right. We're on the Scandalous, on from the Batman soundtrack. And I'm trying to remember the second title. Hopefully that'll come to me because we it was Halloween. I'll never forget. And Prince had called, and he would always call, bless his heart, like 2, 3 in the morning, like it was noon. And another one of his quirks, known the brother 30, 40 years, but he was frequently say your full name. So phone rings 2 in the morning, Gary Hines, and I
do,
always
do,
called him
do,
Maestro.
do you know, you have caller ID? You know it's him calling, or you know his number when you pick it
No,
up?
I know that 2 in the morning is
Who else?
probably
Who else
him.
could it be? It was
Right,
somebody.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Okay.
Yep. And so uh, Gary Hines, I have this idea for Sounds of Blackness. Can you have them at Paisley, Gary Hines, tomorrow night? We'll just be a couple of hours, Gary Hines. It's like, okay, Maestro, we can do that. Of course, we were there half the night, but it was a great time. And Sheila E., with her amazing self, actually did much of the engineering herself. And then, Prince joined later on in the session. But I know we did Scandalous, and I'm trying to think of the second title. Forgive me. Hopefully that'll come back for that. And again, that was for the Batman soundtrack. But we're blessed to do many performances with him, which actually go back to the old North Side Festival before all of this international acclaim and all that and awareness was about any of us kind of thing.
Mhm, mhm.
Prince, insisted when he did break out. He told his management, wherever in the world I am, when the Northside Black Festival comes, I got to be back in Minneapolis. And
Hmm.
frequently, Sounds would open up, either for him or for the Flight Time Band, as they were called. I don't think they were called the Time yet.
Mhm.
Uh, and so we spent a lot of time backstage and off stage and all that over the years, but first and foremost, performing in our community for our people.
Hmm. Hmm. Tell me more Prince stories. That's people are always fascinated by Prince. You know, he was just
There's a bunch of them.
yeah.
Yeah. He, for all his musical genius, and it's not even a question, and intensity and work ethic. Oh my God, second to none. Let's see a few things about him. Great sportsman, the Vikings purple, it comes from that. And was also a great athlete. I think a lot of people don't know that, but he went to Bryan Junior High School, which is, as you know, now Sabathani Community Center.
Hmm.
He was all city there. So despite his height, you can think of like Tiny Archibald or some of the other short or great basketball players, but he was, as we say, fast as greased lightning. And
Wow.
one of the things, oh, you'll like this. He had a basketball hoop out at Paisley, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
many times a lot of the celebrity actors or athletes, would come out there, to visit Paisley, and he would ask them, "You want to do a little one-on-one?" And sometimes they'd be laughing, thinking like, "Yeah, right, what do you mean one-on-one?" And he would take them to the hole, as we say, kind of thing,
Yeah.
just with his feet. But that was something that he absolutely loved to do and got a kick out of it. I know that they did the Saturday Night Live take on that about him in basketball, but great athlete, great work ethic, and and a soul brother, and a prankster.
Hmm. Hmm.
One time he tricked me. We were at the old Sheik's nightclub. And I had come there and he was sitting in this corner, kind of thing. And I came up, was kind of kicking it with him. And then I went out on the dance floor, right? So about 1:32 in the morning, my phone rings. He says, Gary Hines, hey, what's up, Maestro? Um, I saw that tall, dark skinned lady you were dancing with. She was really fine, Gary Hines. She was really fine. So he didn't miss anything and just wanted to let you know that, kind of thing.
He saw you.
Right. She was really fine, Gary Hines. So passed his approval. But there were 4 or 5 subjects we regularly talked about. We talked about God. We talked about music, politics, uh, sports, and beautiful women. Not necessarily in that order, but yeah.
Let me close, Gary. You got about 3 minutes left. Comments on where we are now. What with the murder of Renee Good and Alex
Ready?
Preddy,
Yes.
uh, those still taking us back and reconnecting to all the
Yes.
events in between those deaths and the death of George Floyd
Yes.
and others that we mentioned earlier. Where do you see us now in this community? I happen to be proud of the white brothers and sisters who took the streets,
Yeah.
and
Me too.
and I'm proud of any of our people of color brothers and sisters who took the streets, and also those who chose not to. I think those are
Right.
decisions we have to make, and we have to be strategic. But I think that Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, has said something to the country and to the world about the resistance. And I think that
Yes.
this community has prevailed, even though the troops aren't gone yet. They're going to go. What are you thinking? And how does that impact your music, your weighing of the time that we're in?
Once again, your insight is just astounding, astonishing. Uh, Working on a song right now about all of this, called "Keep On Standing Up." And so
Okay.
hopefully we get that out, in the next few weeks, couple of weeks or so. Um, when Brother George Floyd was killed, the song we were given was the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, "Sick and tired of being sick and tired."
That's
And
right.
and it's something because I was getting calls from program directors across the country, Brother Al, saying, Gary, we need another optimistic. And I was like, no, brother, I respectfully disagree. Right now, we do not need a sedative. We need a stimulant. You know,
That's right.
because everything's not always happening. Yeah, we're gonna uplift and inspire people, but we got to sing about this situation.
That's right.
So that's what Sick and Tired for George Floyd, and so Keep On Standing Up will be for the current situation with Sister Renee, Brother Alex, and all the others that have been deported and beaten and brutalized and jailed at the hands of ICE and this administration.
Gary, 20 seconds. Invite people to come see you Friday.
Yes. In the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King, come one, come all, bring the family. Friday, February 20th, 7:30 at the world-renowned Orpheum Theater, the Ordway, what makes it my theater say? The world-renowned Ordway Theater, downtown St. Paul, for the 3-time Grammy Award-winning Sounds of Blackness, Music for Martin. Don't miss it.
Gary, thank you so much, brother. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Appreciate you. Love you, brother. Yes, sir.
All right. I'm Al McFarland.